former presidential candidate Peter Obi is suggesting that he would have welcomed help from President Donald Trump to eliminate terrorists in Nigeria. Peter Obi made the comments while speaking at the 2025 Leadership Forum Conference at the University of Nigeria's Enugu campus over the weekend. Obi stated that it is not right to start debating when someone has offered you something that you have been looking for, adding that as president, a country's #1 priority should be security. Let's take a look before we come back for a discussion.
Please, it's not genocide. Please, it's not this. But to me, I'm not safe. Come and help. Somebody offered you something you've been looking for. It is not going to start debating. What is it? Oh yes, me and my wife are living. We are hungry. Somebody discovered, oh, Peter Obi and his family can no longer eat. You are saying no, it's not true. And we ate in the morning, but the one of the afternoon, collect the food first. What I'll do, I would have gone. Even today you declare me president, I can tell you, #1 priority is security of life and property.
All right, Dr. Abati, we've seen diverse views on Trump's intervention. That first soundbite I played from the Fox Radio of Trump calling Nigeria a disgrace was the #1 trend on social media over the weekend. And then we also heard from Professor Wole Soyinka, outrightly rejecting the idea of, a military intervention in Nigeria. And then we see Peter Obi here saying, if someone offers you help, collect it. Do not debate. Your thoughts on
Okay, there have been many views.
Yes.
Based on perception, based on affiliations, based on fears and anxieties and all of that. But President Trump referring to Nigeria as a disgrace, that the country is a disgrace. Wasn't that what he said originally?
Yes.
When he first said Nigeria will be returned to the list of country of particular concern.
Yeah.
Nigeria was so designated when he was president in his first term. And then when President Biden came there, President Biden removed Nigeria, from that designation. Now it's a redesignation. And on that occasion, he had made a point that Nigeria is a disgraced country. Mm-hmm. Well, the Nigerian government does not think that we are a disgraced country. He has repeated the same label, in the interview that you referred to, that this country is a disgrace. Well, we have had, congressional hearing of the African Committee of the U.S. Congress. Well, even if he says he's coming to Nigeria with guns and blazing, he will need the endorsement of Congress, the approval of Congress. And that's why he has to go through Congress, because he cannot deploy American troops without Congress endorsing. Otherwise, that would be an authorized act of aggression by the American government against Nigeria. Now, as for the suggestion by Mr. Peter Obi, it is on record that the Nigerian government has said we are ready to cooperate with anybody who is offering help, whether it's the United States or it's any other country. That was one of the first points that the Tinubu administration made. And then following up by sending a delegation to the United States, a delegation that have queried its composition. There's only one Christian on that list, and it is led by an advisor, not by a minister. The ministers were just following. Some of the service chiefs that were there, they probably had no business with, but the emphasis was on security and defense,
right,
rather than also looking at the diplomatic side of it. Even the NIA was not part of that team. So, well, they've gone there. Eventually, when we raised the alarm here, that even our national security advisor cannot be talking to a first-time congressman. They found a way around it, and national security advisor Ribadu met with Pete Hegseth, because in diplomacy, equals talk to equals, which was why Ramaphosa says he's not going to hand over to a junior U.S. official at the end of the G20, and he snubbed the United States. Within protocol reasons, President Ramaphosa acted well. So when Mr. Peter Obi says cooperation pause and reflect and all that. Well, the Nigerian government is already going that line. Now, Professor Wole Soyinka has been very consistent in criticizing Donald Trump. He says he's even going to write Idi Amin Part 2, you know, Trump, Idi Amin in America kind of play. And when Trump was there for his first time, he voluntarily, you know, relinquished his green card because, you know, it will appear that Professor Soyinka had seen what will happen under the Trump dispensation. And this time around, he has also not stopped criticizing him, either the visa policy or the plan to come and attack Nigeria. When he says he will not take help from a madman, you know, there is a popular saying that even when your enemy offers you food, you don't take it.
You don't take it.
But that's his own perspective. And there are some Nigerians who are saying, oh, Trump should come. He should come and shoot everybody that is available. But the narrative has many dimensions. Even in the US, Sarah Jacobs and some of the other Congress people who took part in the debate, some of them are saying Trump is reckless, and they are Americans. Some of them are saying he has no powers to go and attack anybody in Nigeria. But the residual point is the point made earlier about safety of everybody. And Nigeria has a responsibility. President Tinubu may be saying, well, we have rescued some people. No, it should not be on an episodic ad hoc basis. No. Because that's what Nigerian government does.
We want to see
when
arrest.
The government is under pressure, they say we have rescued 50 people. We have rescued 38 people in Eruku, Kwara State. Nobody should be abducted.
This is it.
All of us should be safe.
Well said.
If all of us are safe, you will not even have to be thinking of withdrawing policemen from VIPs because nobody will need VIP protection.
This is it.
Everybody will be safe.
This is it. I mean, I think one of the things that Peter Obi said in that video was the fact that, you know, the federal government, instead of debating whether there is a Christian genocide or not, should have just immediately accepted the collaboration. That the debate about whether there is a Christian genocide or not is quite unnecessary, which is one of the things that we've been talking about here. Meanwhile, a new video featuring Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo saying that he has been told to stop exposing the government over reports of a Christian genocide went viral over the weekend. Reverend Dachomo made the comments during a sermon, adding that he refuses to stay silent because the government's inaction has endangered Christians nationwide. He also condemned comments made by Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, who alleged on Facebook that a doctor told him empty coffins were being buried to fabricate claims of a Christian genocide. Let's take a look.
Somebody says, Reverend Dachomo, you stop exposing the government, your own government, your country. I say, oh, so I'm now exposing my government in which they are watching me right inside Asoro on social media. Then I say, what of me? That the same government exposed us to Fulani killings by refusing to stop Fulani from killing us. They came out publicly and say there's no genocide on Christians. That is another exposed one. Sheikh Gumi, the son of late Gumi, that used to go and bargain with terrorists. He came out and said all the corpses that we buried is a lie, it's only coffin. I've named his name. He must appear in the International Criminal Court of the world to come and testify. I command the grave by the power of Jesus to release her anger, to hunt down Sheikh Gumi wherever he is. He will never know peace.
Well, Reverend Dachomo is clearly not backing down despite the pressure. The question is, who exactly told him to stop speaking out? Meanwhile, Pope Leo XIV has stated that both Christians and Muslims are being slaughtered nationwide. The Pope made the comments on Tuesday last week while responding to a question from the press about whether Christians are truly safe in Nigeria. The Pope responded that insecurity affects all people in Nigeria, while also linking it to economics and the control of land. Let's take a look.
I'll answer the first question. I think in Nigeria, in certain areas, there is certainly danger for Christians, but for all people, Christians and Muslims have been slaughtered. There's a question of terrorism. There's a question of that has to do a lot with economics, if you will, and control of the lands that they have. Unfortunately, many Christians have died, and I think it's very important to seek a way with the government, with all peoples, to promote authentic religious freedom, respect for all people.
Well, the Pope is essentially saying that both Christians and Muslims are being killed. The question now is, will this balanced perspective from the Vatican cool down the heated rhetoric about a Christian genocide in Nigeria? That question, Dr. Vimbai, over to you.
Goodness, it's a heavy question. And, we've been debating this issue for a while now. But I think one of the things that stands out to me is that, OG, the world cannot even agree whether there's a genocide in Gaza. There are people who have reinforced it and taken it to the various international platforms, and then there are people who still dispute it. So my question is also around the term genocide, because we've gone into a very dangerous place in the world, in society, where the term genocide is trying to be depicted as something subjective, whereas it's an objective term. There's a definition for it. So I think we need to be careful about venturing into the space where we turn genocide into a subjective, oh, he said, she said. The truth of the matter is that there is evidence that there are mass-targeted killings. And in the process of these killings, there are also communities, entire communities that are being affected that are not Christian. That's a fact on the ground. So whether it's a genocide, whether it's not a genocide, unfortunately, in this year, 2025, the entire world has gotten to a point where we cannot agree on what constitutes a genocide. That's number one. Number two, on Reverend Dechomo, very unfortunate, his Facebook page has also been taken down, and I believe his take on that, or they're saying that he's alleged of being somebody who is jeopardizing national security based off of the messages that he is transmitting through his Facebook page. And this is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because this is a democracy and people are allowed to speak freely. He has evidence. He doesn't just wake up in the morning and speak. He's not inciting.
Yeah,
he has videos that he shares. He documents, he backs all of his allegations with evidence. So I think it's very important for us not to enter into the realm of silencing people, of censorship, especially people who have their own truth that they are sharing. Having said that, do we want the narrative to cool down? Is it becoming too divisive? Is it becoming too polarizing? Absolutely. However, we're not going to do that by trying to put lipstick on the issues. The only way that we're going to do this is by tackling the issues head on. What are the issues? We've dissected them ad nauseum. Now even Pope Leo is adding his voice to say there are economic issues, there are land-related issues, and this is what we've been saying. We've been saying that from the time there was a drought, from the time climate change started impacting certain places, certain communities started migrating further south in search of arable land. Here in Nigeria, we even introduced the Ministry of Livestock. And the Ministry of Livestock was supposed to try and harness some of these activities around the herding of cows and so forth to be restricted. But I remember when the Ministry of Livestock was now inaugurated, they said that they would need a decade to be able to sanitize the movement of cattle and to be able to create ranches and so forth, which many people thought, so what was the essence of creating this ministry if they're going to tell us that it's going to take a decade to come up with issues, with solutions around cattle rearing and the herders and so forth. So there are so many moving pieces. Earlier in the morning, I also spoke about the fact that we need to also acknowledge the fact that globally, terrorism is migrating from the Middle East because they've taken out ISIS. They've taken out Al-Qaeda. These are groups that used to have over 80,000 fighters. They've been dwindled down to 1,000 fighters. They haven't given up. They've migrated to places like Africa, to the Sahel, to places like Nigeria because they are porous borders, because they feel that the states here have failed the people. So it's easy to indoctrinate young fighters. And this is the place that they feel that they can find rest. So the issues exist. There must be no censorship. There must be no silencing of voices. People must be allowed to express their truth. And the government, in essence, must just do its duty and do its responsibility. And that is the best way for us to be able to tone down the inflammatory rhetoric that is now becoming a little bit too common and consistent, is if people can feel respite. I don't think gagging people is really the way to resolve this current crisis.
Ayo, I'd like your comment on Dachimo, but I'll take this before you come on that. Meanwhile, on Sunday, Pope Leo expressed deep sadness over the kidnapping of priests and students in Nigeria and Cameroon, appealing for their immediate release. The pontiff stated that his heart hurts, especially for the many abducted boys and girls and their grieving families. He urged competent authorities to take appropriate and timely decisions to ensure the hostages' release, while calling on the faithful to pray that churches and schools remain places of safety and hope. Now, the Pope's intervention adds another international pressure on Nigerian authorities to secure the country. Like I said earlier, there are 353 victims still in captivity in Niger State alone, and 24 girls still in captivity in Kebbi State. Ayo, your thoughts on, comments made by Reverend Dachimo, who, stated that he's been told to stop speaking, and the fact that he's angered by the federal government saying that there is no Christian genocide, and he also, condemned Sheikh Gumi's allegations of, or actually it wasn't Sheikh Gumi that stated it, it was a doctor, he said it on Facebook, that they were burying empty coffins. Your thoughts?
All right. Okay, so there's a saying that truth is bitter. In Nigeria, it almost seems like truth should not be accommodated, or there's a resistance, as it were, to truth. What Reverend Dachimo has been saying has been consistent. I have mentioned it a number of times that the reason why the voices won't be silent and why there's this cry around Christian genocide is that the government seems to be paying little or no attention, or at best ignoring the calls from Christians who are living in the middle belt of Nigeria, that's Jos, Plateau State, Benue State. This call was not only made at post-President Trump's tweet. A number of times, Christians have been calling out and speaking out as to how they have been attacked deliberately. They've been targeted. Churches have been burnt. There have been mass graves being built with nothing being done. What the Trump tweet just did was amplify the voices of advocates who have been speaking for a very long time. I have said that if only the government, in response to this, would even, as a show of fact that we are listening, open an inquiry, ask people to come and have an opportunity to really express themselves with the intention to deal with the problem and deal with it. At the end of the day, what people really want is peace. What people really want is a solution. What people really want is the opportunity to express their faith without the fear of any kind of attack or the other. And so what we expect for the government to do for Reverend Dachimo and his likes is, can we offer them protection?
Right.
Rather than asking for them to keep quiet, because we cannot bury truth. No matter how long it takes, it will definitely resurrect. And it's what people have been speaking about for a very long time. And Reverend Dachimo is just echoing the voices of people who have spoken for years and years with nothing being done. Can this administration finally fix it?
Well said, Ayo. Meanwhile, the United States affirmed its commitment to partnering with Nigeria in the fight against terrorism following a high-level meeting between U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Nigeria's National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, who stressed the need for urgent Nigerian action to stop violence against Christians and combat the West African jihadist terrorist group. This is as the Director General of the Department of State Services, Adiola Ajayi, briefed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the country's heightened domestic security crisis, including the recent mass abductions of school children. Consequently, President Tinubu ordered immediate withdrawal and redeployment of police officers from VIP escorts to core community policing duties, with security requiring VIPs now directed to use the NSCDC. Meanwhile, amid the efforts, controversial cleric and bandit sympathizer Sheikh Gumi says that no government, including the United States, can completely eliminate terrorists. Let's take a look.
how these are sporadic cases. You can never ever eliminate terror completely. In America recently, one Nigerian killed his father and injured his 2 sisters. Will I say America is not safe anymore? No, you have sporadic cases. So, but generally the picture is improving, and I think Nigerians should be patient. Things will get better.
Dr. Abati, you know, people are saying Gumi is now a spokesperson for the government. But, you know, his rhetoric about whether or not no government can eliminate terrorists, he even compared the fact that there is gun violence in America. Obviously, that is, you know, considered terrorism in some form. But, I mean, your thoughts on all of the, you know, meetings that have been held so far, and, of course, what Gumi just said.
Well, I mean, the intelligent point is that, look, when government is fighting terrorism, you are dealing with asymmetrical war. Mm-hmm. It's not that the enemy is wearing a uniform. It's not that the enemy has a particular location. So whether for the Nigerian government or for the American government or any other government, you know, an asymmetrical war requires a different kind of approach.
Yes.
A different kind of method. And that is why there is even a whole broad level of conversation about international cooperation. Because terrorism poses a threat to the whole of humanity. So there can be collaboration, but at the government level, there must also be something about what your government is doing. Mm-hmm. And that's why some Nigerians argue that, look, at the end of the day, it's the Nigerian government that will find the solution, because we're the ones that are directly affected. Right. No. And the Nigerian government must be seen to be doing what it must do.
Yes.
Now President Tinubu says, we are ready to get help from anywhere, and we are committed. Everybody should be safe in Nigeria. That is the objective. It is also so stated in Section 14, Sub 2 of the 1999 Constitution. Now, there are many views about what is going on in Nigeria. Now, the National Security Advisor meeting with his opposite number, Pete Exet, and both countries saying they will work together.
They'll work together.
That's also very good optics. And both countries can talk, which was the point that Sarah Jacobs, you know, was making, which was the point that some of the Congress people in the US were saying. You have to consult the Nigerian government and work together to deal with what is actually a global problem. All now, right. You cited the example of Reverend Dachomo. Now, Reverend Dachomo is a Christian leader. You cannot expect him, you know, not to say, oh, there is an issue with religious persecution. The problem is with the use of the expression Christian genocide. Mm-hmm. Now, the position of government is that even Muslims are being persecuted in this country. And that's why I say the bottom line is to make the environment secure. Bishop Anagbe, the Catholic Bishop of Makurdi, was at the congressional hearing in the US. He even painted a more, you know, disturbing picture than Reverend Dachomo. Mm. So, as they say, he who feels it knows it.
All right.
And if you ask Muslims to also tell about their experience, and we have been on this issue since 2009, mm-hmm. The Nigerian government is not able to solve the problem.
All right.
Now that it is on the table, it is for the Nigerian government to realize that what President Tinubu was saying yesterday should not stop at the level of rhetoric.
All right. Meanwhile,
government must do its job.
Right.
In the best interest.
We have said government must do its job like maybe 50 times already.
Well, we'll say it again tomorrow.
We'll keep saying it every day, every minute. We'll take the story now on